Hey, everybody. Heidi Harris here, day after the election. Actually, 2 days after the election. I kind of wanted to let things sit for a day. The day of the election, I woke up and I thought, oh, I just had a feeling, a pit in my stomach that what if she wins? What if she pulls this out? Even though I had talked to my pollster friend and other people who had followed this very closely and they felt like it was, a sure thing that she was going to win, that he was going to win. But I thought, my gosh, what if she wins? But then I thought about it. I thought, there's no way because God controls all of this. And even if Kamala had been installed, God's still in charge, right? But there's no way that God would have preserved Trump from having a bullet go into his brain only to have him lose the election. I mean, think about that from a, I don't know, spiritual point of view, right? So I thought, I can't see that. Two assassination attempts. How did he survive two of those and go on to lose the election? That didn't make any sense. I do believe as a Christian, because that's how I approach everything, I do believe as a Christian that we have dodged a bullet in America. I do. I think that we have, it's not that Trump is perfect or Trump's going to change everything that's going on in the country. I hope he changes a lot of things. Every president only has a certain amount of stuff that he or she can do. And I understand that. So, and there's, there are good reasons for that, right? That's what our founders put in place, that separation of power. So your guy can't do too much that's good. And my guy, whatever, right? Or too much that's bad. And aren't we glad? But I do think that we have been given 4 more years of grace by God that we don't deserve in America. We have turned our backs on him and we don't deserve decent leadership. I do not believe, as I've said, that Trump is the end all be all. He's going to save America. If it weren't for him, no, I'm not going to do all that. But I do know that God raises up leaders and he brings them down. Happens all the time. And I believe that God was appointed for a time like this. There are a lot of problems in the world. Certainly, it looks like we may go into World War III. I think Trump will put a stop to that. We've got to get control of these borders. There are a lot of things. You all know the issues. So why did Trump win? I know there have been a lot. You've probably seen a million videos of people talking about why he won. I'll tell you why. I put a blog post up about this the day after the election. I was up late like everybody else watching him give his speech. And basically what it came down to, in my opinion, and I'm sure yours too, it was a repudiation, frankly, of 4 years of Biden garbage. I don't know why these glasses are acting weird on me. It's okay. I'll just deal with the blue. Sorry about that. I'm so glad I bought glasses for the computer that wouldn't reflect the blue, and they do. Anyway, it was a repudiation of Biden, basically, because this would have been a 4th term of Obama. Remember that Obama's controlled Biden for these terms, right? But I will tell you what I really think it came down to. Americans are tired of being called every name in the book. They're tired of being lectured to. That's really what it comes down to. They're tired of it. They got tired of it during the COVID situation when people who got paid to work from home were wagging their little fingers at other people and telling them to stay home because they might kill somebody's grandma. Meanwhile, the only way they could feed their families was to go out into the workplace. But they were virtue signaled by people who could sit in their house and type on their computers and tell them what to do. So they get tired of that real fast. So there was that. That was one of the big issues. People are tired of paying higher prices for everything. They're tired of the green agenda that costs them more money everywhere you go, whether it's power bills and a certain amount of the power and wherever you live has to come from green sources, which cost everybody more money and is less efficient, and on and on and on. Okay, the green agenda, it's ridiculous. Transportation, everything costs more money because of the green agenda. And people are tired of it. They're tired of working their asses off and not ever being able to even dream of owning a home. They can barely pay rent. I mean, a lot of people have kids living at home in their 20s who would like to move out. I mean, yeah, there are kids who don't want to move out, but there are a lot of kids who'd like to. They can't afford to. They can't get an apartment. I mean, I know people who are young couples, married, doing it right, not living together, doing it right, can't afford to get an apartment as a young couple starting out because, well, who's in the apartments? Illegals by the millions are taking up these apartments. No one talks about that. I do. A few other people do, but it's a big deal. Okay. So that's all part of it. And talking more about the illegal immigration issue. I mean, it's very obvious that we can't have millions of people come into America who have no allegiance to America. Now, they're either here because they want freebies or they're here because they want to commit crimes. Now, there are some who want the American dream, but the way we're marketing it now, we're not marketing the American dream. We're not marketing people who came here 100 years ago who said, I want to go to America so I can start a business, so I can have freedom, so I can have, an opportunity to make something of my life. We're marketing, come to America and everything's going to be free. Healthcare, an apartment, food, everything. That's what we're doing. So what are we getting? We're getting the dregs. And when I say dregs, I'm not talking about a color of people or where they come from. I'm talking about people who don't want to add to America. That's what we need. People who want to add to America. And it's very difficult when you've got people who are not coming here for the right reasons. I don't care if it's 500 people, much less millions and millions. So we all know that's a disaster. Okay. People are tired of being told what kind of cars they can drive, what kind of stoves they can have in their house. Once again, for the green agenda, we're tired of it. People are tired of the DEI and the woke policies that celebrate everything but merit. And what's interesting is, doesn't it speak volumes about how unracist Americans are? They looked at Kamala Harris. They didn't care what color she was or if she was female, or maybe she is, I guess, but they didn't look at that. They looked at merit and they went, no, you suck. You have no policies. You have no plans. You have nothing to say. So we're not going to vote for you. And we're not going to give you extra points because you're a woman of color. I'm not going to say black woman because she's not black. I don't know how you define black, but just because you have darker skin and you're a woman, you're not getting extra points, period. So I think that's a great advancement for America, that people aren't racist enough to vote for someone unqualified just because she's a dark-skinned female, right? Right. Okay. People are tired. Also, the people, I should say, are tired of a party that continued to cover for Biden, who still is not up to the job. We know that. This puts our security at risk. World leaders are laughing at us. People are scrambling to get things done, behind the scenes before Trump takes over. Things they can only get past Biden because he doesn't care, is totally not engaged and being controlled by other people. We're tired of our parental rights not being respected. They're our kids. They're not your kids. And we're tired of the schools telling us they're our kids. No, they're our children, not yours. We're tired of being called homophobes or transphobes because we don't want our kids exposed to porn at 8 years old in a school. Now, if you want your kid to read Playboy at 8 years old, you go ahead and do that. I think it's a mistake. You go ahead and do that. But anything that's marketed to adults should not be in an elementary school library. That should be a no-brainer. And when I say marketed to adults, some of these I realize are kids' books. There's a reason there's a rating on everything. Movies, video games. There's a reason. And yet these schools want to put books in there that are very graphic, sexual books. You know why they're doing it. And then the parents scream, or the liberal parents, oh, you're banning books. We're not banning books. You can go buy those books anywhere you want to. Buy them online, go to the bookstore. You can buy them. No one's saying you can't. But I don't want to pay for it as a taxpayer, nor do I want my child to be looking at a book I think is inappropriate without my consent. Now, when I was a child and my parents, I was the oldest, I have a younger brother, a couple of years. I was the oldest. So my parents had to have the talk with me. So what they did is they got me some books. I don't know what, or a book or whatever. And I was a big reader always. I was probably 7 or 8. And my parents gave me some books and I read the books. And it explained where babies come from. Okay. Because my parents kind of chickened out and didn't want to have the talk, but at least they wanted to have the information in my brain. Right. So I read the book and I was like, oh, he does what? That's disgusting. I mean, I thought it was the grossest thing ever because I was a typical child. Most kids do think that's gross when they're 7, 8 years old. Hello. But these people who want to get these books into your child's brain, and there was nothing sexual in these books. I don't even know if there were any kind of pictures or anything, and certainly nothing graphic. So children can't process that at a young age. That's why they're so screwed up when they get molested at that age. And they most certainly shouldn't see that stuff at that age because it over-sexualizes them at a young age, which shouldn't happen, which is what the liberals want. The liberals want your children over-sexualized, having sex as early as possible to get those abortions going. We know what's going on. And that's why they do it. They cared about their children. So you're called a homophobe, which shouldn't be a homosexual issue because a lot of homosexuals are not on board with this, but you're not a phobe, transphobe, homophobe, whatever, because you don't want this. You're also not a transphobe because you don't want your child exposed to whatever plays that they do, right? The, what do they call them? The drag queen story hour. You don't want your child exposed to that. So you're a transphobe. No, I'm not a transphobe. And I grew up in Vegas, in case you don't know that about me. And when I grew up here, there were some real, and there still are, I guess, some people doing some really good drag shows in Vegas. I mean, it takes talent. Some really, really well-known people in Vegas. What's his, Frank Marino, Kenny Kerr, if you've been around long enough. Some of these guys, super talented. And the shows were funny and they were really entertaining. And there might be an off-color joke, but there was nothing crude or disgusting about these shows at all. Okay. Everybody was wearing clothes. Nobody was twerking anybody. They were coming out impersonating famous people, and they do it extremely well. These real professionals. So to me, this drag queen crap with the fairies and all this other stuff, wearing the fairy costumes, what is that? That's insulting. That's not talent. And to expose children to that, once again, you want to take your kid to one of those shows, you go right ahead. I disagree, but they're not my kids. So, but I'm a transphobe because I don't want my child having somebody in a fairy costume twerking their butt in front of my child at 5 or 6 years old. No, I don't. Silly me. Okay. Tell you what else we're tired of, we the people. We're tired of having our kids affirmed by schools without parental knowledge. In other words, the schools are, doing these things like calling our kids by different names without telling the parents. See, nothing in school should go on without the parents knowing. Nothing. I mean, if you're up to me, I would make it a law that every single lesson taught in a classroom was online, every single one of them. So the parents could go over the lesson with their children. If, they need a reinforcement of it, everything should be online. Everything. So parents can know what's happening. And a lot of parents realized during COVID some of the garbage that was happening, which is why so many people got their kids out of public schools. Can't blame them for that. But there are schools that will call your kid, Jody instead of Joey. And all of a sudden you're supposed to call him, Jody, the girl, and they don't tell the parents. What, are you kidding me? I mean, they're not your children again. Not to mention the fact that there are schools that there's been talk of kids getting drugs and things like that, puberty blocking drugs and things like that. I don't need to explain that to you. Okay. You know what goes on with that. And all of that is part of the agenda. I did a podcast a week or so ago about the Biden administration, which is now Health and Human Services is forcing people who are foster parents to affirm children. I've talked about this a couple times and I'm not going to stop because it's important. These are the things that Americans were rejecting. So you've got a kid who's in foster care, 6 years old, taken out of the home in the middle of the night, somehow traumatized. You'd be traumatized being taken away from your parents. That's traumatizing enough. Maybe you've been abused, beaten, neglected. We don't know. Something bad's happened. Takes a lot to get you out of the house. They take you out of the house, put you in foster care. Then you sit in a room with strangers or a stranger who starts giving you these leading questions. And the next thing you know is you start answering the questions and they say, oh, your problem is you really think you're a boy when you're not a boy. You know what I'm saying, right? You're the other sex than you were born. They don't address the sexual abuse, the emotional abuse, the neglect, any of that stuff. No, the beating. No, we're not going to talk about that. Your problem is this. And then they funnel those kids into a home where they are affirmed to be given drugs and possibly surgeries that are life-changing. I mean, these things are irreversible. And we're tired of that. This shouldn't even be discussed. Shouldn't even matter. I'll tell you something else we're tired of as Americans. We're tired of Pentagon policies that focus on wokeness and not readiness. And this is happening in every branch of the military. Thousands of people are having their body parts cut off and being given drugs, trans drugs, cross drugs, whatever they call the drugs, because they want to change sex. If I were Trump, one of the first things I'd do is say, this is over with. Anybody who can't decide if they're a boy or a girl is given a medical discharge from the military. Bye-bye, and we're not paying for your drugs anymore. Go get a job at Starbucks and let them pay for your drugs. I'm not kidding. This is very important. It's costing us a fortune. Millions and millions of dollars have been spent on this. And this is not military readiness, folks. World leaders are laughing. You think China's doing this crap? Yeah, okay. No, they're not. Let me give you a hint. It's crazy. But this is the stuff that shouldn't even be discussed. It's insanity that's even happening. But this is happening under the Biden administration. And of course, a lot of these guys in the military are amazing when they're younger, and then they get to the Pentagon and they do whatever they have to just to get through it and get out of there. They have to do what the White House tells them to, so they don't question anything. They just want to get an extra star and get out of there. That's how it is, unfortunately. So they can't recruit anybody because the military is so woke. Who wants to join the military now? I have a ton of respect for the military, by the way, but they're having trouble recruiting people, obviously, because they're so woke. It's a problem. Something else the American people are tired of. They're tired of police officers being disrespected, defunded, and automatically blamed anytime anything goes haywire during an arrest. Now, are there incidents where the police are out of line? Absolutely. Everyone knows that. But this idea that automatically when somebody runs, there's a car stop. I did a video on that, by the way. You can find all that at HeidiHarrisShow.com. Look through my videos, and I'll try to link it up here. Did a video on that with a 25-year police officer a while back on car stops. And a lot of these things start with a car stop where somebody says, I don't have to get out of the car. Yes, you do. The Supreme Court says you have to get out of your car. But it's no matter what happens after that, they don't get out of the car. They're not going to follow the law. Then it's the cop's fault if something happens after that. Okay. Always. They're defunded. They're demoralized, the police, because they're not getting the respect they should from anybody. And they certainly deserve better than that. So these are just some of the things that we're just tired of. We're just tired of being told, like, for example, with the economy. People have been told for the last couple of years, oh, the economy's great. The economy's just great, just fantastic. No, it's not. No, it's not. And if you're paying bills and you're a normal person, you're seeing that the economy's not great, that you can't afford a house. I mentioned all that, but groceries are ridiculous. I mean, if you just give you an example, if you go to the grocery store, Walmart, you want to buy a gallon of water. During Trump's administration, that gallon of water was 99 cents. Now it's like $1.37. I'm not a mathematician, but that's more than 8%. Just saying. Just an example. And everything's gone up ridiculously. And everybody knows it. But they tell us, oh, no, everything's fine. Stop it. Everything's fine. Don't you understand? It's fine. No, it's not fine. You don't live in the world I live in. I'm not sure what world you live in. And a big problem with the lefties who are freaked out about this is, and I guess surprised, and I don't know why they're surprised. Maybe it's because they don't know anybody who thinks like they do. See, I have lots of friends of all political persuasions, all religions, all, backgrounds, whatever. So I don't just sit in an echo chamber with my MAGA friends and talk about, MAGA stuff. As a matter of fact, I don't talk a lot about it when off the air. But I have friends that we share something else in common other than, politics, right? So I know how other people think. And I look at other viewpoints every single day when I'm looking at news and watching news or reading news, whatever. I look at all kinds of things. So I know how other people think. But the left, I swear they don't do it. They're in an echo chamber. All their friends at the cocktail parties all think like they do. And they don't understand anybody who doesn't. They don't understand. And it's interesting, too, how the Republican Party, when I was a little kid growing up, my dad was an FDR Democrat. Now, I didn't realize that because I was a little kid. A great man, great father, but an FDR Democrat. When I was a little kid, I would ask my parents about politics. First, I'd ask them about the election. Who are you going to vote for? And they'd say, there's no choice. Even back then, they said that. It was funny. But one of the things that my parents told me about politics, the earliest thing I can remember, is that the Democrats were for the average people and the Republicans were for the rich people. Okay, well, we weren't poor, but we weren't rich. So I went, oh, well, we're the little people. So, so I didn't understand anything beyond that. But for a lot of years, the Democratic Party was known as the party of the people. And now it's not. Now it's not the party of the people. Now it's the party of the elite, the laptop class, who sit there on their laptops and tell you how to live your life when they don't live in the real world. They've never moved out of the house. They've never bought a house. They're taking Uber. They're not having to pay car payments or whatever, right? It's the craziest thing. So I think that America is, certainly Trump's not the savior of the world. We all know that. But I think he's going to make a big difference. We want somebody who's going to go in there and who's going to be able to negotiate with world leaders who know that he's got the strength. And beyond that, he has always believed that America's great. See, that's one thing Obama never believed. Remember when Obama first got elected, he went around the world basically sticking his toe in the ground saying, oh, shucks, we're America, almost apologizing for our greatness. We don't need to apologize for our greatness. We are amazing. We're an amazing country. I'm glad we had an election that so far has been without incident. I guess there was some stuff in Chicago, but I'm really grateful for that. I didn't know what was going to happen. So I'm grateful for that. I want a peaceful transfer of power. I'm grateful for that. A lot of places in the world don't ever forget that. But Trump believes America's great. And Trump does not believe that America should apologize for its greatness. And Trump doesn't want to go to war. Trump doesn't want to send your kids into Ukraine or Iran or Russia. He doesn't want to do that. And what's the point of doing that? Tell me where the America benefits from that. Tell me again. Mm-hmm. But the people who are the war machine, the Cheneys of the world, that's what they want to do. They make a whole lot of money off these wars, and that's what they want to do. And Trump doesn't want to do that. So I had to talk to a friend the other day who is a conservative on a lot of things, not everything. And she said something so important to me. She said, you know what? She said, I just keep going back to, why did they try to kill him? Right? And that's a great question. You have to ask yourself, why don't they want him in power? What is it about him? He's upsetting their apple cart. The plans and schemes that they had in place are not in place now because Donald Trump's back in the White House. And here's the best part. Since he's already been there, I know he's 78 years old. I hope his health holds out, hopefully. And I think JD Vance is great. Wasn't sure about him at first, but I'm liking him more every day. But the great thing about Trump going back into the White House now is that he will do things a lot differently. Like I think when he was on Joe Rogan's show, he was taught, and I encourage you to watch that. Trump on Joe Rogan's show, also JD Vance on Joe Rogan's show. I haven't watched all of Elon Musk, but God bless, Joe Rogan, good for him. But Trump was talking about how he had hired the wrong people the first time. That was one of the mistakes he made. Because, you come into the White House, all of a sudden, wow, I've got to hire all these people for all these positions. And he wasn't somebody who lived in the political world. So you may not know who the best people are. And now he knows who the best people are, who the ones who are loyal are, who the ones who are qualified are. And of course, there's going to be, there'll be problems. There'll be, people who are disgruntled. It's going to be, everybody's going to be jockeying for position and, trying to get the most time. I get all that. That goes on in every office in the world. Of course it does. But I think Donald Trump's going to make better decisions about that this time around. And he knows the ropes now. See, he didn't last time, and they did nothing but try to stop him and hurt him. Now he's going to have power with the House and Senate and obviously the presidency. Let's hope he doesn't squander it. There's some major things that we need to get accomplished. We cannot get distracted. We've got to get focused on turning America around. I think God gave us a break here. I think he gave us a reprieve that I don't know if we deserved, but I'm glad we've had it. But at the end of the day, the main thing we need to do is turn back to God. If Donald Trump's able to turn this economy around, like I hope he can, that would be great. But we still need to turn back to God. Our prosperity, everything that matters in America, our freedom, all of this is tied to our attitude toward God. And if we turn away from him and continue to do that like we're doing now, it's not going to end well. I don't care who the president is. So let's turn back to God, and we'll keep an eye on Trump and cheer for Trump and yay Trump and all that, support him and everything else. But at the end of the day, got to look to God for the answers. All right, guys, don't forget, you can find me, HeidiHarrisShow.com, podcasts, videos, all that stuff there. So please check it out. And I'm on YouTube again, Heidi Harris, so you can check that out. And there's a singer named Heidi Harris on there, but I'm a former singer in another place, but you can find it. Anyway, so please check it out. Follow me on all these platforms. I also do Rumble, put these videos on Rumble too. So follow me on all these platforms, X Heidi Harris Show, all that good stuff. Okay, guys, I'm excited. Let's go forward. Let's try to turn this country around. This could be our last chance to really make a difference. And I'm certainly hoping we don't squander it. Okay, guys, thanks. See ya.